So pretty consistent to what Kobe said, right? What I'd like to do is show you a game clip. This is an elimination game in the playoffs against the Utah Jazz at their place. So we're going to pick it up with 11 seconds left. Tie ball game. Kobe has the ball. Let's see how this plays out.
So Kobe Bryant, the young rookie straight from high school. 8 seconds left. Bryant guarded by Russell. 5 seconds left. 4. Bryant drives. Pull out. Shot on the way. No good. Carvalho rebounds. We go to overtime. Bounce. Wide right. Van Exel fake stock away. Cross court left. Open. Kobe Bryant for 3. Another air ball. He shoots back-to-back air balls. Jazz basketball.
That's hard to believe.
Van Exel. Yo-yo. Van Exel backs it out. Straight away to Kobe Bryant. Bryant for 3. It's short again. Air ball. Air ball. The young rookie. 3 times. He shot air balls. Here at pressure. Stockton with the ball. So front court. Jazz with him. Stockton all over him. 8 seconds. 7 seconds. Here's a three-pointer. Air ball again. By Kobe Bryant. Another air ball. 4 seconds left. It's Stockton. It's over.
So when you were airballing those three-pointers against Utah, you were not aware that people were thinking that this guy's going to be a huge disappointment?
No, like what I was thinking was, damn, I should have made him, right? And then I said, well, why didn't I make him, right? So I was able to think tactically, right, as opposed to thinking emotionally. Right? I was able to think tactically, and the answer I came to was that, well, in high school I was used to playing a max of 35 games. NBA, I mean, this would be 120th game of the season, playing with grown men. My legs weren't ready for it. You know, I knew I wasn't nervous. I knew it wasn't a moment where I capitulated to the pressure. It was just more endurance and training my body differently than I had. So I was able to think very tactically and then went out and did it.
Just a show of hands, how many of you guys struggle thinking tactically as opposed to emotionally at times? Now, let's look at why Kobe might not be reacting emotionally. When she asked him, what's the best advice you could give young players, he said, I think the biggest thing for young players now is to ask why. So when that happened to him, he asked the question why. And what was his reason? His legs were tired, right?
I think that there's 2 types of players, players who love to win and players who hate to lose. Which one are you?
I'm neither.
Meaning?
Meaning that, you know, I play to figure things out. I play to learn something, right? Because I think if you play with a fear of failure, or you play with the will to win, or that supersedes the fear of failure, I think it's a weakness either way, right? Because if you play with the fear of failing, you'll have the pressure on yourself to play, you know, to capitulate to that fear. If you play with the sense of I want to win, then you have the fear of what happens if you don't. But if you find common ground in the middle, in the center, then it doesn't matter. You're unfazed by either, right? And that enables you to really just stay in the moment, stay connected to it, and not feel anything other than what's in front of you. So, you know, I try to just be dead center.
So a lot of people in general are afraid of failure. How did you become one of those people who doesn't seem to be afraid of failing?
Failures, it doesn't exist. It's not existent. What the hell does that mean? Seriously, what does failure mean? It doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. What does it mean?
You're pulling a Jedi mind trick on me right now. I was like, does it exist?
No, I'm serious. Like, I'm trying to think, like, how can I explain it? So, let's use happy endings, right? And then we can relate this to failure and why it's not existent. Like, you know, everybody talks about, like, everybody wants a happy ending, right? Now let's go to the reality of it, right? Let's look at a fairy tale story. Let's look at Snow White. Mm-hmm. She gets a happy ending. She finds Prince, whatever. She goes on. She lives happily ever after. Well, I call bullshit on that, because 2 months later, the fact is they had an argument and he's sleeping on the couch. Right? So the point is, the story continues. The story continues. So if you fail on Monday, the only way it's a failure on Monday is if you decide to not progress from that, right? So to me, that's why failure is not existent. Because, you know, if I fail today, okay, I'm going to learn something from that failure, and I'm going to try again on Tuesday. And I fail, and I'm going to try again on Wednesday. So it doesn't exist later in life. But if I don't take that stuff and apply that someplace else, then that is that's failing, which to me is the worst possible thing you could ever have, is to stop and to not learn.
So Kobe has created his own version of reality, and failure doesn't exist there. Why? The only way you can fail in his world is what? To stop. And because there's always progression, there's no failure. And when she asked him, and I want you to think about how most athletes answer this question, she asked him, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be? Where do most athletes go with that? Championships, accolades, all those different things, okay? When she asked him that, here's what he said. I left no stone unturned. I tried and learned as much as I possibly could to be the best possible player that I could be to help my team, be the best team that it could possibly be. If people said that I was the talented overachiever, I would be happy with that. Let's look at this second part, talented overachiever. He came up with that when he was 16. He realized that he was genetically gifted, and he said, if I can work like I'm the last person on the bench, I'm gonna be all right. And if you talk to any NBA player, and they're ultra competitive, they will say that Kobe's work ethic is second to none. He is a compulsive competitor. Look at that. That's where Kobe went when she asked the question. Learned as much as I possibly could. I think that Kobe's insatiable curiosity is what made Kobe, Kobe. And my question to you that I'd like you to think about, what if you prioritized growth over everything on your chase to reach your goals? I'd like you to think about that.